We have them right where we want them. Our evil marketing team has done well luring them into our trap. They can't help but spend their hard-earned money to buy our game. And that's not all. We will make them spend more in-game while we watch them struggle, dying to FPS drops and forcing them to buy lives with our microtransactions. Okay, that might be a bit drastic, but it's pretty much how it seems if you look at the internet blowing up over Dragons Dogma 2's release. The game was released on the 22nd of March 2024. At the time of recording, the game has been bombarded with bad reviews, most of them to do with the bad optimization of the game and the microtransactions. The game is not exactly cheap, and being a single-player game, the thought of microtransactions really stoked the flames. If you don't know what Dragons Dogma 2 is, then you probably want to go and watch a video or read up on what the game is and what it is about, and then come back. This video will look over the concerns players has voiced over the game's performance and the late inclusion of microtransactions to the game. So is it really as bad as the reviews say? Is the game completely unplayable, littered with mandatory microtransactions and pay to win? I decided I'd have a look for myself. I must admit, this was the most frightening decisions I have had to make in a while when it comes to game purchases. I mean, if I was to go on the reviews alone, I was about to blow up my PC trying to launch this game, and if by some miracle my PC survives, I'll have to contend with thousands of pop-ups making me want to buy their best gear, skip 20 levels, hell, probably even buy the in-game cinematic so you can get the achievement for finishing the game. Thankfully, that was not the case, and I was glad that for once, the internet in its infinite wisdom and truth was wrong. Well, at least to some extent. Let us address the performance issues that was brought up. I'm not running the latest and greatest PC at all. In fact, if you talk to a tech guru, I'll probably be mid-range at best with how fast the technology is being developed. I'm running a GeForce RTX 3060 with the CPU and RAM as you can see here on screen. When I launched the game, the only changes I made was to the default graphic preset from low to high, and changed the full screen to borderless window. I was pleasantly surprised that after 30 minutes of gameplay, I had no crashes or massive FPS drops. During combat with spells flying everywhere and me dashing around, I got around 40 to 50 FPS, and this was with me having OBS open and recording my gameplay. So what exactly is the issue here? I had to investigate further. A couple of calls and stares later, it seems that things weren't all sunshine and roses for family and friends. Running almost identical PC setups and running identical settings in-game, our experience was vastly different. They experienced game crashes and massive FPS drops, but all settings were the same until I realized all but one: the resolution. Running on 1080p on high preset had no noticeable FPS drops and no crashes. However, running on 4040p, the FPS drops got real, going below 30 FPS constantly. Even changing the game's settings to lower detail made little to no difference. To get a stable-ish frame rate, the settings had to be lowered quite a bit. The real issue came in trying to run the game in 4K. Funnily enough, the FPS drops were there, but that was not the main issue. It was staying in the game. It seemed the game would crash at least once or twice per hour. After everyone changing to 1080p, the problems was resolved. Of course, it will be impossible to know the setups for each and everyone trying to play the game, but the conclusion, at least from my personal experience and some testing with multiple PCs, seems to stem from the resolution you opt to play with. The performance dropped significantly once you go higher than 1080p. So as it stands now, the performance optimization is definitely a cause for concern, especially if you are running a high-end PC and expect to be able to crank everything up to the max with minimal frame rate drops. The recommendation in the Steam page says that the minimum card is the GTX 1070 for 1080p and 30 FPS. I think with its current optimization, that is a bit of a stretch. You will be lucky to get 30 FPS on the lowest settings. The recommended RTX 2080 at 1080p in my opinion would be the minimum specs to play this game without issues in its current state. So is it worth lighting the torches and picking up your pitchforks while marching to the Capcom castle demanding retribution? Well, that depends. I personally played the game with no issues. I had one crash in 35 hours of gameplay. And again, this is with me recording as well as playing on 1080p. So I can't honestly say performance is so bad that I demand justice. But on the other hand, if you're trying to run anything higher than 1080p, then yes, it is justified to feel just a little bit betrayed. But let's say you have been looking forward to this game for a long time, and you can look past some performance issues and patiently wait for the tweaks that will most likely come soon. Are evil Capcom overlords going to take all your money as they force their microtransactions upon your soul? Honestly, I have no idea what people are even referring to at this point. The amount of negative reviews stemming from the game having microtransactions is not justified at all. Don't get me wrong, I think it's borderline predatory that a single player game even considered having them as an option. But that's the thing, it's a single player game and won't have any effect on your own experience of the game. I know I will most likely be roasted for even saying this, but I can kinda see where Capcom is coming from, assuming they have a conscience. If you're a casual gamer with a full-time job, have a family and responsibilities, but you're a massive fan of games or even the series after playing the first game and you really want to play this game, it can be hard to sink in the amount of hours required for you to finish this game. So from that perspective, I guess you can say that people like that now at least have the option to make it a little bit easier for themselves to get through the game. Emphasis on being only for themselves. Not a single transaction at this point will influence anything multiplayer related. The little bit there is with the pawn system. And I'm not promoting Capcom here at all. I'm simply a gamer enjoying an RPG game, sharing my love for games, and through that sharing my experience that I have had with the game thus far, so that people can have a broader understanding and make their own decisions whether or not this game is something they would enjoy. Does this mean that I'll fork out money to ease my journey? Hell no. Should you? Hell no. If I could wave a magic wand, I'll get rid of all microtransactions in all games. But let's be real, if you play games like this, or RPG games in general, surely you know these games takes time, and sometimes even effort. And if you're a dedicated gamer, then in fact, it's more work to actually buy a microtransaction in this game than it is to just enjoy and play it. I have found everything on the list available on the Steam DLC store for purchase while playing, without me even trying to grind it. I simply just played the game as I would normally play any other RPG. The way the reviews were going on about the microtransactions, I thought that I'll be swarmed with ads and mandatory purchases like it is a mobile game or something. But nothing. You have to literally quit out of the main menu, go to the Steam store, and from there consider buying anything. The game itself contains no store. The only place I found where a player might feel the need to spend additional money on the game is at the Rift Crystal vendor within the Pawn Guild. This is the only place where you can change your character's appearance for a cost of 500 Rift Crystals. Now, getting 500 Rift Crystals is not a lot if you play for just a little bit. You might not have it the first time you come across this vendor, but if it's something you really want to use because you decided to make some weird looking character that you thought would be funny, all it takes is just a couple of hours of playing and you will have acquired the 500 RC. It's an inconvenience, sure, but at least you have the option to change your character's appearance. There are some cosmetics here with Rift Crystals or RC costs that I don't know, at least after playing 35 hours, if it's even obtainable in-game. It most likely is, but it will take you a long time to gather. But even these are purely cosmetic items. These expensive RC items has zero impact on you or anyone else's gameplay from progression or combat efficiency. So in conclusion, yes, the performance is an issue. Yes, it should have launched with proper optimization, and yes, the game is playable if you are okay with playing at 1080p. And no, I don't think the specs listed on the Steam store is accurate, at least not until some optimization is done. As for the microtransactions, yes, it's stupid that games companies nowadays thinks it's okay to slap microtransactions into games, especially single-player games. Luckily, none of the microtransactions in Dragons Dogma 2 is required like the reviews would like you to believe. In fact, you probably would not even have known it's a thing if it was not being promoted through bad reviews. Of course, there is a lot of things within the game that was not mentioned here. And like most games, if you put it under the microscope, you will find a lot of things wrong with everything. The game has its flaws like most games nowadays. You can find it questionable that you have only one character slot or not having control over your save games. But there are and have been far worse games released before Dragons Dogma 2. So far, 2024 has been a great year for gaming, and honestly, if you're a fan of games from the genre, then Dragons Dogma 2 is no exception. Don't get me wrong, I said this before and I will say it again. It is absolutely unnecessary to include microtransaction into a single player game, especially ones that insinuate that you will have to spend money to play the game, such as camping kits or revive stones, when there is no clear communication that these things are not needed and you can obtain these through playing. If anything, that is more scummy than the microtransactions themselves for not making this clear and having the internet go mad over this. If their plan was to market the game for free through player disgust, then I guess it's one more point for the marketing team. Is it worth the full price currently? Well, unless you're a massive fan, probably not. Do you keep it on your wish list and wait for a sale or even some improvements first? I'd say yes. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more content. Till next time.